Report a shot fired at officers trying to stop the vehicle. We have one officer shot.
We got shots fired. Sounded like an automatic firearm.
Copy, code red, shots fired.
We have an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the warehouse.
Active shooters, the controversies that surround them, and our opinions. And now it's Shots Fired with your hosts, TJ Kurgan, Fat Dark Earth, and Dinah Death Milberg.
Hey, shitheads, TJ here, a.k.a. Sig Glockincolt, and welcome to episode 24 of the Shots Fired podcast. Today is a special day. Typically, on these podcasts, you have myself, or Fat Dark Earth, or Dinah Death Milberg talking, with either ourselves, two guys talking, or talking to someone else. And in this case, we're talking to someone else. But you can't see them because we have to hide their face. So if you're watching this podcast on YouTube or Full 30, you're not going to be able to see our guest. But if you're listening to this podcast, you will definitely hear our guest. And the reason you can't see him is because our guest, we're going to call him Mr. Shush. Mr. Shush is here today. He's a silencer industry insider. And him and I were talking about some conspiracy theories, and I thought, you know what, this makes a great podcast. The shots that have been fired that are creating the podcast today is the Virginia Beach shooting, which happened on May 31st. Mr. Shush, welcome to TacticalSht.
Thank you for having me here today.
And I love the fact that Mr. Shush we don't have to change your voice.
This is amazing.
That is amazing. So if you recognize Mr. Shush's voice, good for you.
Through the miracle of modern technology.
So we're talking about the Virginia shooting has created a huge controversy in the Second Amendment world and the gun owners, the non-FUDs of America, right? Because the other day, right before President Trump got on Marine One, someone asked him a question.
Somebody decided to ask him, what do you think of suppressors? And he had a very Trump-like answer.
I don't like them at all.
It's interesting. It's almost like he's following the political winds of change.
The political winds of change. So let's talk about what makes this weird and ironic and shocking to gun owners. First of all, most gun owners are, pro-Trump, voted for Trump. Trump is their savior. And then you got some that are not FUDs that are realizing that things might not be going so smoothly.
Son of a bitch, he is a politician.
Yeah, tread on me harder, Daddy. But Trump's son, President Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I've never actually met him. We've been in the same room. We've been at the NRA, we've been at the SHOT Show, and I've just never had the chance to meet the man. But I have friends that have, and they say he's a great guy. But Donald Trump Jr., back in 2016, prior to President Trump's election, got in bed with Silencer Co. and began pushing the Hearing Protection Act.
It's amazing you say in the bed, because I think Stormy Daniels was back in the news this morning too, but that's a different subject altogether.
That's a totally different subject, Mr. Shush. We'll talk about that maybe afterwards if you've got any juicy details. But so Donald Trump Jr., who is the president's son, is a strategic partner with what's the name of the suppressor organization? Is there a a coalition?
It's a coalition of manufacturers and industry people, other shushers.
Other shushers?
I'm afraid that this isn't working because I can't remember what the hell it's called.
Oh, that's okay. So there's a coalition or an association of suppressor manufacturers. And the CEO of Silencer Co., I believe, sits at the chairman of that board or at the head of that. And Donald Trump Jr. has been a big backer of this. And up until recently, we believed that President Trump was also a supporter of the Hearing Protection Act.
It certainly seemed that way. He was letting his son do a whole lot of soapboxing for him.
Oh, yeah. And, my son will say things that maybe I don't support or agree with, but not for long, right? So no. Donald Trump apparently, we were believing that he was supporting the Hearing Safe Act or the Hearing Protection Act.
Silence is consent, and he wasn't saying much, so we all just kind of assumed he was on board.
And you know what happens when you assume something?
We all become a shithead.
Yeah, it makes an ass of you and me.
Indeed.
So you've got the silence, the consent, the Hearing Protection Act, which is everybody knows what that's about. That is about removing suppressors or silencers, which are the same fucking thing, by the way. The patent says silencer. We'll just leave it at that.
Which is a misnomer because it's not very silent.
No.
It's just silent enough.
Right.
It's hearing safe.
Hearing safe.
You want to be underneath that 140 decibels because that is the point where you're getting immediate hearing damage to your inner ear and cochlear portions of your ear. I just can't say cock in this voice sometimes.
Yeah, so I didn't hear a damn thing you said because I've got acute hearing loss in my left ear from shooting guns, when I was younger without hearing protection on. And even in my older age, I had a catastrophic malfunction of a Smith & Wesson M&P 22. When they first came out, I was out shooting with my kids. And I was not wearing hearing protection because it's a 22 rifle, and it was little pop, little pop, little pop. And I decided to do a mag dump, and when I did the mag dump, the extractor broke off, and the extractor set off a 22 in the chamber with the open port, right? And so when that happened, I immediately felt like somebody hit me in the head with a sledgehammer. I thought the gun blew up in my face. That's the boom, I thought the gun blew up. I dropped the gun. I dropped to my knees, and my hearing in my left ear rang completely out. It went, whoop, and then there was silence.
Instant tinnitus.
Yeah, instant silence. There was nothing. I had my kids checking to see if I had any holes in me from brass or anything. And I actually was worried about my kids, too. This is a testament to standing behind the line, right? If one of my kids, they kept creeping up on me. I'm like, stand behind the line, right? Don't stand next to me. Because if one of them had been standing next to me, all that brass went out that ejection port at a pretty high rate of speed.
Things like that followed the path of least resistance.
So this is a 22 rifle. The doctor says that the DBs that impacted me were probably the same as a 30-30 Win Mag, or 30-30 going off at the muzzle, right? When the 22 went off with the breech open. I did not perforate my ear, but it caused tremendous damage to the point where I had to get an MRI this year to prove to the doctor I didn't have a tumor on my ear, on the inside of my eardrum, and it really was what hearing loss from shooting. The reason it's my left ear only is because this ear was protected by shadowing. So when you fire the rifle, my right ear is behind my face. You turn your face, the blast concussion is hitting the left ear head on. If I was left-handed, it'd be my right ear taking all that heat.
Basically, your doctor said you had a big head.
Yes.
That was the most polite way to say it, medically speaking, of course.
So the Hearing Safe Act, or the Hearing Protection Act, which one is it? Protection. The HPA, that is meant to protect the hearing of shooters moving forward, removing suppressors or silencers, one and the same, from the NFA, which, by the way, the entire NFA needs to go. But
the NFA was initially used as a tax, not a write-off, a tax defense. What did they get Al Capone on? They didn't get him on booze. They certainly didn't get him on killing anybody. They put that sorry son of a bitch in Alcatraz for taxes. How fucked up is that shit? We can't prove nothing. Let's make you a criminal. This sounds interesting.
Well, that's easy. That's easy to do with with the tax code book being this thick. I don't think there's anyone in America that hasn't violated some sort of tax rule unintentionally. Which is very similar to the NFA, right? The rules are so thick and so weird and so many holes in them.
And convoluted. There's loopholes that allow certain things and loopholes that make other things illegal.
Right.
Muzzle brakes, it goes on the end, it makes the blast go in a certain direction, but it's not a suppressor. So the big thing with the HPA was they just really wanted to make these things accessories. Like any other magazine or buttstock, fore-end, cheek weld. Arm brace. Yes. It's amazing how many people became debilitated when Sig came out with that son of a bitch. It's like, wow.
I'm thinking
handicapped as hell.
So let's getting back on track. We'll come back to arm braces in a second. But so we did some looking. So Trump says, I don't like them at all, right? I don't like them at all. And the entire gun community erupts with, oh, holy shit, here we go again. Because that's exactly what happened in February of 2018. In February 2018, Trump tweeted, those bump stocks, we're going to get rid of those, right? I don't know if that was the exact wording, but something to that nature. And in February of 2018, he tweets that. By February of 2019, 2 years later, they're banned. You can't register one, you can't own one.
There was no grandfathering at all.
No grandfathering at all, which is a travesty of justice. I do believe that will not survive the Supreme Court when it ever gets there.
It shouldn't.
But what's that going to do for the 500,000 people that own them? And maybe the 500 or so that destroyed them, or turned them in.
Sure they did, pal. Yeah. Sure they did.
I destroyed mine. I destroyed mine very publicly.
Well.
Yeah. We actually built at TacticalSht here in St. Louis. I'll take you out there after we get done with the podcast. We built a monument to the death of freedom. We melted one of our last bump stocks live on Facebook with a flamethrower into a rock. And anybody can come, kneel down, pay their respects to the day that freedom died.
Son of a bitch! I think my dog peed on that rock.
It's okay, because we piss on gun laws anyway.
That's the way it works.
I like that. So Trump says, I don't like suppressors. He didn't really say suppressors, but I don't like them at all. And the whole world explodes. And then just a day ago, he was on an interview with our favorite TV news guy, Piers Morgan, right? The Brit that said he was going to leave America if Trump won. I
was just going to ask that. It's like, what's he still doing here?
Pretty sure he's proven himself a lying cuck.
That's a good word.
Yes. So Trump is being interviewed by the cuck, and then Trump says in his interview, he alludes to the fact that he may consider banning suppressors. However, he is not happy about the idea, or Let me see if I can pull up the actual wording. But nonetheless, this was not just a comment made, getting on the helicopter. He has followed it up now with a second comment.
And the sad thing is, remarkably, he's got a history of doing the things he says he's going to do, which could make this statement fairly dangerous.
Yes, absolutely.
And with the bump stock ban, the thing that made that so horrific is this is legally possessed taxed property that they just made illegal by caveat.
Yep. So Trump says to the cuck, I'd like to think about it. I mean, nobody's talking about suppressors very much. I did talk about the bump stock, and we had it banned, and we're looking at that. I'm going to seriously look at it. I don't love the idea of it, the president told the cuck on Good Morning Britain. Maybe he did move back to Britain. I don't know. It'd be nice if he did.
Well, the president is hanging out with the first lady of Britain right now, the Queen.
Yeah, he did not bow, though.
Why should he?
Well, Obama did.
Well, Obama, that son of a bitch pretty much bowed to a toilet. So
right.
He would, oh, look, you're the Lord of Flush. Let me get before you. Am I facing the right direction?
So February of 2018, Trump tweets he doesn't like bump stocks. And by February of 2019, they're a 15-year in jail, 15-year in prison felony to possess. There's no registration. There's no grandfathering. 500,000 Americans become felons instantly. And so now he said the same thing about suppressors. So if that's the case, we could see suppressors banned within a year of now, if it follows that same path.
Outside of making my public living in the industry itself, I do believe it would be fairly horrible if that law were to pass and make a whole lot of current owners, criminals.
Yeah. I would imagine there's probably, hundreds of thousands of legal suppressor owners in America. Do you have any idea what that number is?
I don't, as a matter of fact. I'm not on that association thing, right, where I would imagine that information would be pretty easily accessible. However, sorry.
Excuse me.
We did put out a suppressor line not too long ago. We've sold more of those than all of our other Class 3 items for the last 3 years combined. So I would assume that this is something, well, it's a taxed accessory that's actually in common use lawfully.
Sure. And Obama, the best gun salesman on earth, the suppressor sales skyrocketed over the term of his presidency.
With that whole Fast and the Furious thing, he had more buy one get one free gun sales than Silencer Go did last June.
All right, so we're gonna talk about that buy one get one here in a minute. So let's talk about this podcast started when I presented to you my conspiracy theory, if you will. It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's more of a marketing theory, right? Because the question on my mind is, if Donald Trump Jr. is pro-silencer and partnered with the association and doing videos with Silencer Co. and publicly pushing the Hearing Protection Act for the last 3 years, and then you've got Daddy Trump going the exact opposite suddenly, after this shooting in Virginia where the suspect allegedly used a .45 cal handgun with an extendo and a suppressor. Now, the news says that this suppressor, they have not confirmed its legality. They don't know. We don't know if it was a Silencer Co. suppressor or if it was an illegal, ordered
solvent trap,
or if it was just an oil filter. It's all right.
That's okay.
Mr. Shush had to make some noise real quick.
I didn't feel like sneezing inside this thing and getting spit all over this fuzzy little microphone.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
So the suspect. Let's talk about the shooting, right? And we'll come back to Trump in a minute. So the shooting happened on May 31st?
May 31st.
Okay, and so here it is, June 6th. So it's 6 days
Happy
later.
D-Day.
Yep, 6 days later. Within 2 days, we're talking about Trump's saying he doesn't like them. Within 5 days, he's talking about banning them, all because of one shooting that killed 12 people at a municipal center. The municipal center in question in Virginia Beach was actually their public works department. So the suspect and many of those who died, 12 died, 4 injured on 3 floors of the municipal public works building. They were all employees of public works. Public works is the guys that take care of the roads, take care of the parks, fill the potholes, put the salt out when it's snowing. They're labor guys. And the guy that did the shooting, we're not even going to mention his name because fuck that guy. He had worked there for 15 years. And he put in his resignation the morning before he did the shooting. So I'd love to get inside that head and figure out, what that was all about. What's the point of putting in your resignation if you're going to come back and smoke everybody? Or did something happen after the resignation that caused him to snap? Whatever. But that's stuff that they haven't reported on. They're not reporting on how he got the suppressor, what kind of suppressor it was, or any of that. And I would be willing to bet you that we won't hear.
I bet if it was a dead air suppressor, they would have told you already.
Very, very true.
Conspiracies abound, I tell you. They are everywhere.
So this is, as far as we know, this is the first time a suppressor has ever been used in a mass shooting. Although NBC claims it's happened before, I have not ever heard of it happening before.
I haven't seen it, and I was on that Wikipedia looking for, they have a really up-to-date list of any shooting that was over 4 individuals, which is what they call a mass shooting.
Right, which
there's
like 10 of those in Chicago every weekend.
That's pretty much Friday night.
Right.
But you go down the list, and it has a little synopsis, which is a really hard word to say. It's a little synopsis of what happened when, and it's got pretty much everything on there. There's a lot more than you would think, but they're not. Some of them are police shootouts. So is that a mass shooting or is that an execution? It all really depends on how you play the game. So that list has lots of those little numbers on there where you can go and reference everything and check the external links, which we all love. You love external links,
I do
right?
love external links.
External links are fun. Anyway, It leads to a rabbit hole of doom sometimes, but that's where the dark web comes in, but that's something else entirely, so let's stay on point. So all these external links have very, very up-to-date stories in reference to that event. Not one of them says silencer, suppressor, or machine at all. So NBC might be just blowing it out their ass.
Yeah, I think NBC's lying. It's fake news. And they're trying to do everything they can to push the agenda of banning silencers. Now, with that being said, banning silencers is an altogether different thing than banning bump stocks. So their reasoning when they banned the bump stocks with no grandfather, they did not add the bump stock to the NFA because bump stocks did not exist when the NFA was enacted. Right? National Firearms Act. So it did not predate the National Firearms Act, so therefore it could not be put
included
on the NFA. And so now you have silencers in the sights of Daddy Trump. And, I don't think they can use the same argument and take away the grandfathering and do seizures and all this shit under that same argument because it does predate the NFA, does it not?
It does predate the NFA. The interesting thing there is not only did the government, local, state, and federal, collect taxes on every sale of suppressors, they also took that additional $200 tax stamp, which those little stamps, stamp collectors pay a shit ton of money for those stupid things. Mm-hmm. So those stamps are $200 each. And all those guys over there at the NFA do, I'm not going to say that they're just guys because, we got a lot of people over there. Some of them might be, well, not guys, but you get the idea. Some of the guys over there, they basically swipe down a little checkbox and go, okay, cool. I haven't seen that dude in the news yet. He passes his background check. Boom. And then produce the stamp. Now, I don't know why it takes them 6 to 30 months to do this shit, but, maybe there's only going one drop-down window that can be opened at a time.
Right.
So we'll figure that out.
They're still on dial-up over there at the ATF.
Oh yeah, every time like AOL, man. Every time a new application comes in, it says you got stamp, but they don't know what the hell that means because it's probably written in Spanish.
According to Silencer Shop, I was looking at the other day. I think right now wait times are 5 months, like 200 and something days. I think is the current wait time for a Form 1 to get your suppressor.
Form 4.
Form 4.
Form 1s are when an individual is going to manufacture a suppressor or an SBR on their own. So they put in their little tax stamp and they put in a thumbprint and they send it into the NFA and the NFA goes, okay, cool. Those are actually coming back in like 12 to 14 days because it's just between, one dude and the government dudes. And apparently they can cycle those through really fast.
Wow.
But what slows down everything else is when you deal with manufacturers, we're sending in like 3 dozen a minute. We're like, yo, man, we got to get this shit done because Jimmy Bob's Global Cart over there, he wants his machine really fast. So we put the paperwork in really fast, and the Form 4 comes back really fucking slow.
Oh man, I'm having trouble taking you seriously with the Mr. Shush voice, but so it's taken the time.
It doesn't help that I'm looking you in the eye.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't help at all. So it's on the NFA. It's already a restricted item. You already have to have a background check. You have to send in your fingerprints, your photo. They take a look at you and they decide to give you the stamp. If you send the check
of approval.
Right, it's a stamp of approval. As long as you pay your $200, and by the way, they cash that check immediately.
You're fucking fast.
Right, that check gets cashed, boom, like that.
Oh, yeah, and then you're going to wait another couple weeks just to sit there and be like, this is so, your anxiety levels going through the floor like you've been having, like, mainlining this shit.
No, by the way, this podcast is sponsored by Liberal Tears Coffee. Liberal Tears Coffee. Manufactured for us by Black Rifle Coffee, bagged by veterans, and it's good shit. It's a Columbia Supremo bean, Excelsior bean, Columbia Excelsior bean, which means it has a higher caffeine content while being a more medium roast.
That explains why my heart hasn't stopped to flutter.
Yeah, be careful. So let's get back to the conspiracy theory or the marketing theory. I know you guys have waited a long time for this. We're coming up on 25 minutes. Let's try to cut to the chase, right? So I said to you earlier, I said, here's my theory, right? Sales are down for everybody in the industry that makes guns or gun parts. We are in the Trump slump, right? Everybody loves that word. That's everybody's excuse to the fucking bankers why we're not why our P&Ls look like shit, right? Because there's no urgency, there's no fear,
there's no panic buying.
Yeah, we are living in a Trump utopia, right? Where nobody's coming to take our guns. The boogeyman is back under the bed, but is he?
Boy, oh boy, I miss them jackbooted thugs of Obama.
Well, at least with Obama, you knew you were going to lose your rights, and we fought for it.
You knew you were in the sights at that point.
So under this administration, which by the way I voted for, and I will vote for them again, although I'm not agreeing with the shit they're doing in this particular case.
Of course not, but we all in this day and age, you can't be a single issue voter.
Right? Absolutely not. You know, I mean, so what do you? If you don't like Trump because he's saying he doesn't like suppressors, are you going to vote for Hillary if she runs again, or how about Michelle Obama? That'd be an awesome president, wouldn't it? And by the way, that's coming, motherfuckers. That's coming.
What about Bernie? If that son of a bitch said free suppressors for everybody, he'd be on the ticket tomorrow. No. He wants to give everything else away for free except your rights.
Yeah, you can't have your freedom for free.
No.
Yeah, freedom, not going to happen. Everything else is free, though.
Keep in mind, all these laws, they're not infringements if you pay to get them back.
Correct. So, my theory, here it is, drum roll, right? So my theory is this. Sales are down, we're in the Trump slump, and suppressor companies, suppressor manufacturers need a boost in sales. It doesn't look like the Hearing Protection Act is going to pass anytime soon. And so what happens? Here's my theory. Donald Trump Jr. goes and sits down with Donald Trump Sr., Daddy, sits down with Daddy, and he says, hey, Dad, will you do me a favor? You remember the time you tweeted about the bump stocks and and TJ made millions? You know, remember that time? Could you do me a favor and just say you don't like suppressors? Say you don't like silencers? Because the sales of silencers will go through the fucking roof, and my friends over at Silencer Co. will be happy, and their investors will be happy.
Investors. It's amazing how investors do that.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen this before. We know that the NRA, although they don't spend much money fighting for our rights, they spend $40 million a year with their ad agency, but they spend $5 million a year on lobbying. Okay, that's a bit off.
That seems a little skewed.
Which is why we support the Firearms Policy Coalition and Gun Owners of America. I'm donating personally $60,000 to the Firearms Policy Coalition this year.
Excellent.
Thank you. I'm thinking that this meeting happened, and Dad's like, yeah, son, I'll do that for you, you know. And so my theory is there really isn't a desire to ban these things, and Trump, I don't think he gives a shit one way or another. Daddy Trump's not a gun guy. Donald Jr. is a big-time gun guy. Donald Jr. is part of the industry. He's industry as fuck. He's at every NRA, every SHOT Show. He's at the parties. He's always around with his Secret Service entourage. I just have to think that this was a move to increase suppressor sales. And so you, Mr. Shush, are in the industry. Have you seen suppressor sales increase, and how much, since he said this a few days ago?
Well, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
In the beginning, it's 216. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Trump, and the Word was HPA. He sat down in the beginning and he listened to little Junior, and Junior said, "Daddy, the HPA's got to pass today," and it was a wonderful thing in the industry. The industry was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna boom now because there's not gonna be this 9-month stupidity wait for this bullshit stamp to pass. We're gonna sell like hotcakes." So there were some in the industry that took loans, large loans, as a matter of fact, so that they could make product ahead of this HPA passing, because they had it on good word that this thing's a shoo-in. That's a fun word to say.
A shoo-in.
A shoo-in. Man, I'm going to owe you one of these little spongy things. So anyway, it was a shoo-in, because little Junior Trump was saying, we're going to do this shit. So everybody started building more stuff, because you can't sell it if you don't have it. And if this HPA passes, every mom, pop, and swinging dick is going to come down to their local gun shop and buy this new accessory.
Gun shop, farm and home stores,
Yeah.
Fucking Walmart will be selling suppressors.
Jesus Christ, man. Do you know what happens when you legalize shit? Everybody sells it. That CBD stuff, you could buy that at every fucking pawn shop, porn shop, and goddamn gas station in friggin' 3 states now.
Yeah.
There's bakeries that sell that shit.
When Canada legalized fucking pot, the country ran out of pot in 24 hours.
Dude,
Suppressors
do you know how
are
much
effective.
energy it takes to drink beer and watch hockey? Come on.
So if the HPA passed, there's going to be a run on suppressors. Everybody knows it. Matter of fact, I even said, right, Tactical Shit has no FFL. We don't want one. We don't want the federal oversight. We don't want the restriction. And honestly, I like sleeping at night, and I make enough money anyway, selling accessories and shit to everything else but the gun, right? So and besides that, have you seen and met the guys that work for me? Do you think I'm going to have them sending out firearms and trying to keep records?
Are you trying to tell me that they're not going to be capable of doing some of this paperwork? That's bullshit you got to do?
They ate crayons.
Those are delicious.
And some of them lick fucking windows.
Especially
Fat Dark Earth licks windows.
those old windows with the lead paint?
Yes.
Fucking window candy.
So but when HPA started happening, I said, hey, we may want to get our FFL if this happens, so that because at that point, tactical, suppressor, a silencer becomes tactical shit. It's no different than a muzzle brake.
Absolutely.
Right. Although it's a muzzle brake, you still have to do a 4473 on.
Do some paperwork.
So, or whatever the form would be for a suppressor, because it would still be a registered item. It would just be off.
You still do a 4473.
Yeah. So you still have to get the background check, the phone call to the NCIC.
That other state, Connecticut? Holy shit. You're doing a background check from Gotti. It's ridiculous. But, so the industry started to build up its stores.
Yeah,
and
they're building their war
inventory
chest, a war chest of silencers,
stuff.
just stacks and stacks of it. They took out loans from banks, from lenders, from investors, back to the investors, and so they borrowed a bunch of money, they bought a bunch of material, they built a bunch of suppressors, and they're all sitting on shelves.
And nobody bought shit. You know why? Because they're all waiting for that fucking HPA to pass, so nobody bought fuck all.
Right. So the consumer decided not to buy anything because of the potential of the Hearing Protection Act passing.
If I could spend a little more money and I don't have to wait 6 months, you're damn right I'm going to hold on to that.
Yeah. And
Why?
I actually have friends that did that. I mean, I have friends here in St. Louis that did not buy a suppressor for quite a while because they were hoping the HPA would pass. And
But then it didn't.
But then it
So
didn't.
all this stuff just kind of sat on the shelves, and slowly but surely, consumers started to do what they do best: consume. They started to slowly buy little suppressors here and there, but they only wanted the cheap stuff because it was worth the risk to spend a little bit of money and get something kind of cool instead of spend all their money and get something really cool, like some Surefire bullshit. So what a lot of them did was they bought some suppressors, onesies and twosies, whereas before they had a lot of money, so they were buying like threesies and foursies, which is like porn. But anyway, but they didn't buy fast enough. So some big companies started to do the BOGO, which is like something I would expect my wife to do with sandals. They would do a buy one get one free.
Buy one get one free. So a major silencer company did a silencer co.
A company. Yes.
Silencer co. did a BOGO, a buy
Yes.
one get one
A
free,
buy one get one free, like you would do with like a lawn dart set or something.
which
So-
is definitely indicative of inventory surplus. That's
Exactly.
and it also says one thing: we charge at least 100% markup.
That's right. What's your markup? If I can sell 2 cups for the price of one, that first cup's got to be 25%.
Right.
My markup is 75%. That's fucking huge. Yeah. So this one company, they bought these. They put out this BOGO, and people were like chomping at the bit, waiting for this HPA to pass. So they had lots of money sitting aside, and they were like, "Fuck it, buy one get one free." Damn. Sale is in my wife's DNA, so I'm not going to get in trouble if I go for this sale because it's a BOGO sale. She does this shit at Pier 1 all the time. So guys went out and they jumped on it. Well, that company kind of They were just treading water, making their payments there for a little while, and then suddenly they had this big influx of cash so that they could pay off the bank, but now they had this big surplus of orders they couldn't exactly fill out.
And they couldn't fill them because the BOGO deal was buy a modern model of silencer and get an old discontinued model free.
Buy my new super sexy, and I'll give you my old and dirty too. So it didn't quite work the way they wanted it to, because now they had to make a whole bunch of the old dirty ones, which means they had to take apart their new machines to build the old stuff.
Because they didn't have enough inventory of the old ones to satisfy the demand,
Exactly.
which is a huge business operation snafu, and somebody should have been fired. But basically,
Oops.
And so they sell they way oversell the old, they're trying to get rid of old inventory,
Right.
and they're trying to generate cash.
If it's sitting on the shelf, it's not making you any money.
Right.
And when
So-
the bank wants money and you ain't making no money, you're either out on the corner or you got to do a BOGO.
Right. So they do the BOGO, but somebody doesn't put in the actual inventory numbers on the old.
There was no stop. They were
and
just
they
selling.
just let it run, right? So they
Oops.
sold shit tons, metric shit tons,
TONNE, shit tons.
suppressors, and so what happened then?
Well, I would imagine they ran out of money because they still haven't sent out any of the rebate suppressors.
So they're called the second one. You're telling me that this BOGO deal that this silencer company in the industry did, that was about a year ago?
Yeah, I think it was in June.
Okay, in June. So it's June now. So it was a year ago, and you're telling me that they haven't satisfied the second one. Most customers got their first one, but they haven't gotten their second one yet?
According to their mea culpa that they put out there in December, they said, we're really sorry we fucked up, but we might be able.
Mea culpa was on Recoil magazine, right?
That's a very popular magazine.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So I like that magazine. They got some cool. Anyway, so they went out and they said, we're really sorry we can't do this, but you'll get your rebate suppressor by like July. So like sometimes after you get to celebrate the 4th again, you might possibly get them. So everybody thought that they were going to put in 2 stamps at the same time because it's buy one, get one free. That means 2. That means I'm going to send the government like $400. But no. They still can't. They're still holding that $200. So I hope they put that in like a high interest CD so that they got some money out of it. Because they're clearly just going to sit on that shit like the tooth fairy and a molar.
So this company, they're currently sitting. They have to retool their entire operation in order to manufacture old models in order to satisfy the BOGO orders.
So at some point,
And you
the
need
banks-
cash to do all that retooling,
at
right?
some point, the bank's going to be like, listen, pal, I'm done giving you some money. From what I understand and what I may or may not have heard through the grapevine, there was this company that used to give them materials, and they're not giving them materials anymore either. So this shit's going to get difficult. Unless they can shit some Inconel,
And
they're up
typically,
shit's creek.
if a materials vendor is not shipping materials anymore, there's only one reason why a materials vendor would stop shipping materials.
Pay up, sucker.
Yeah, it's because they're not getting paid. And now we're not talking about any one company necessarily. We're talking about
There were several that did this.
companies within the suppressor industry that that aren't receiving their materials because they're not getting paid. So here's the theory, right? So I'm going to try to simplify this. Some companies are sitting on inventory surpluses. Some companies are sitting on they had successful BOGOs and sold all their inventory, but also oversold inventory that they have to retool for and manufacture in order to satisfy the orders.
Correct.
And I don't know if that BOGO deal, if you paid for both suppressors up front.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah. So they've borrowed. So that
We need some capital, motherfucker.
So
Give
that
a BOGO.
company has borrowed capital interest free from the gun owners, right?
From the
And-
consumer.
And now all of a sudden they've got to manufacture that shit. Maybe not they have enough capital, or maybe not the bank is calling notes, or maybe not the investors are saying we want to see something here.
That's a whole lot of maybe, baby.
And so what do? The industry
stop.
goes to Trump Jr. and says we're in deep shit.
We need some panic because
we
nobody
need some
panic
panic.
buys if there ain't no panic.
And so Donald Trump Jr. says, "Okay, I got you, boo."
and he goes into the Oval Office and
Goes and
says, "Hey,
talks to
Daddy,
Daddy.
I need you to say something stupid."
I need some panic. I need some panic. And so he hits the panic button, and here we have today. So now back to my question. Is it working? Has suppressor sales increased since the Virginia shooting? And, how much? I mean, like, round numbers. Like, we talking it's like doubled or tripled, or is like going crazy out there?
For the individuals that are making a quality product, they are getting some increased revenue streams due to the fact that some people are a little nervous right now. Mm-hmm. The last 4 or 5 days, I've seen a lot of phones ringing at a lot of different companies, and some people are starting to feel a little, they're like stripper nipples. They're a little perky right now.
And my theory on that is that a lot of, people, gun owners, especially your NFA guys, they're not stupid. They know that the silencer is an NFA item and predates the NFA itself. And therefore, the theoretical ban and seizure or required destruction of said silencers probably would not pass muster because of, at least they wouldn't be able to use the same excuse, the legal excuse they used on the bump stocks. And so they'd have to make up some different bullshit, right? Which we're not saying they can't do that.
Well, of course they can. They're the government. They can make all sorts of stupidity.
They've demonstrated that they can they can, let me quote this. They can well, maybe I can't quote this. They said that they basically can.
Let me surmise.
Yes. They reinterpreted their rulemaking ability.
I'm glad you said it, because that word would have been fucking horrible.
Reinterpreted their rulemaking ability. So if the government's allowed to reinterpret their rulemaking ability at any time and make these rules that are not laws, but yet they become laws, I don't know. Even without Congress, how's that work?
It's not like they haven't tried that before. With the back to the grip, back to the brace.
So I'm not gonna say that we have nothing to worry about. I'm not gonna say that Trump will not try to ban silencers. Because if my theory is right and this is a business move by the suppressor industry leaders, first of all,
clap to hell.
I am not disrespecting you, industry leaders in the suppressor industry, because I think it's fucking genius. I would do the same goddamn thing, right? That's capitalism. That's marketing. That's how it works, right?
It's marketing.
But, and I was a big part of the bump stock thing. I made literally millions of dollars. I'm not gonna hide that, right? I can't wait for it to go to the Supreme Court and get shot the fuck down, because I'm going to start selling those things again, even though I think they're fucking stupid.
I think the color chartreuse is fairly stupid too, but I'm not going to tell people they can't buy it.
Right. So the big problem we've got out there. So I'm not going to say that you shouldn't worry about this. I'm not going to say, oh, don't panic. Don't go buy a silencer. Somebody asked me on the retail floor this morning, should I do my Form 4 then and get this process started because I want to get a silencer? And I said, absolutely. Because if they do manage to ban them and they fail at the seizure destruction portion of that because of the predating the NFA, then you have a window of time that we estimate, based on the bump stock historics, to be about 1 year. And if it takes 6 months right now, 5 to 6 months to do a Form 4, and if everybody's thinking the way I'm thinking, and they run out and then it's going to be 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, 11 months, 12 months, and then will it work like California? Will you have till 5 p.m. on Friday to order those magazines? And ordering was all you had to do? I mean, we've got bumps. We've got drum mags that we still haven't shipped on orders in California. We stopped taking orders at 5 o'clock because the law said we could take orders till 5 o'clock. So will this be a thing that if you've got your stamp in, you'll be good? Maybe, maybe not.
Could be.
But it's a $200 gamble that's worth taking, and especially if you think this could happen, and it could, Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it goes all the way through, and Daddy Trump just totally disagrees with Junior.
It's possible.
It's possible. I mean, I disagree with my son on all kinds of shit, right? Well, really not that much. But he does drive on the wrong side of the car. But anyway,
Your son's British?
No. My
We
son,
stopped that shit in 1776, goddammit.
He's got a Japanese import, one of those right-hand drive fast cars.
Oh, no, well, we stopped that at Nagasaki.
So, is there anything we haven't put on the table here, other than our dicks?
I was just going to say my penis, but according to that, I mean, I think we pretty much covered it all. The only thing hiding away is the nipple, and that's the answer to the riddle. Yeah. So as long as we can keep poking and prodding that little son of a bitch, we can make sure it stays perky.
Yeah. And so to poke and prod the nipple, as Mr. Shush says, I suggest it giving money right now. Go to Firearms Policy Coalition. Give them your money. Firearms Policy Coalition. The thing I like about Firearms Policy Coalition is almost every dollar you give them goes to file lawsuits against the federal government and state attorney generals to fight unconstitutional gun laws, which is all of them. And that is something the NRA is not doing. Now,
infringements start small and end up where we're at now.
Yeah. So, next is silencers. 6 months after that, somebody uses an arm brace in a shooting. 6 months after that, somebody uses a binary trigger in a shooting. 6 months after that, red dots become illegal because a red dot allows target acquisition quicker. And we just go down a slippery slope to hell until somebody finally has had enough.
Some jackass already tried to say that bolt-action guns that accept the detachable magazines are horrendous. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That fully semi-automatic bolt gun will get you every time.
Yeah.
That's what that dude in the bell tower used.
Anyway, so thanks for joining me, Mr. Shush.
Thank you for having me.
I want to thank some of our sponsors. So sponsors for Tactical Shit are TacPack. Yeah, if you want to get cool shit every month in a box, sign up for TacPack at TacPack.com. There's a promo code probably on this podcast where you can get some free shit. I believe it's a free AR-500 steel target and some other cool shit when you sign up for TacPack. We got other great sponsors like Right On Optics, Hyperfire Triggers, Whip Machine. If you're looking for a suppressor, I recommend going to the Whip Machine website. Those guys make some cool shit with the Canuter valve and the 3030, I think, whatever, something like that. Check out those. Matter of fact, those are some super affordable suppressors, and they're very well made. So anyway, I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for speaking with us.
It was remarkable to be here, and I had a hell of a time. This coffee, awesome, by the way. I got to get me some Liberal Tears.
You do. Liberal Tears. The choice of champions.
It's the coffee of shitheads.
All right, that does it for episode 24 of Shots Fired. And we'll be back hopefully next week with another episode. And we will stay on top of this Trump thing and see where this Trump train takes us.
Jesus Christ, you're going to stay on top of it? Who's going to dislodge Stormy?
All right, shitheads. Subscribe to the podcast. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay frosty. Keep your head on a swivel. We're out.